But we know that Jordan Love, with the injuries and the rest around this team, he's going to have to push it. He's going to have to make big plays for this team, I think, to get past the Bears for the third time this season.
Let me tell you, the Chicago wing of the family is very, very excited for this matchup. 3 NFL games on Sunday, headlined by 49ers and Eagles. Jeff, Saturday, what are you watching for in that one?
Oh, how about Saquon Barkley and the run offense versus San Francisco's run defense? You saw what Seattle did to San Fran's defense. Yeah. Charbonnet, I mean, they were, and Kenneth Walker were just moving the pocket. I mean, moving that line of scrimmage. This is what the Eagles need to do. It's what they want to be able to do. So I'm fired up to see Saquon and Tank Bigsby, honestly, and how they line up against this San Francisco defense.
I think they got a pretty decent draw. We'll dive into that. It all wraps up on Monday, our playoff palooza, 5 consecutive days. This one, our game, Monday Night Football, Texans and Steelers. J-Mac, what are you watching?
How the hell do you block Will Anderson Jr. and Danielle Hunter? For Aaron Rodgers, I do not want to play against these two guys in the way they get after the quarterback. They pressure him all day long, and once they get there, you better believe they're going to be bringing Rodgers down to the ground. They got to find a way to keep the quarterback clean. I don't know if they're doing that against Houston.
Yes, I jokingly thought to myself when they saw the matchup that they would get that the Steelers sideline should have been devastated by the missed field goal the other night, because it's the last thing in the world you want to see. All right, so that is this table being set for all of these playoff games we have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and we'll be on them all morning long. That said, tons of NFL news for Mr. Graziano. Let's run the hurry up, and let's start with Kevin Stefanski, who we know is no longer in Cleveland, but might not be out of work long.
Let go by the Browns yesterday, but I think that's just the beginning of the story for Kevin Stefanski this offseason. I do believe he will be of interest to several teams. You see our Adam Schefter reporting that he's expected to speak with at least 3 of the teams that have openings right now. This is a 2-time Coach of the Year who had success in Cleveland relative to anyone else who's coached there since they came back in '99. So, yeah, I do think he's going to be somebody people want to talk to in a year where most of the hot candidates seem to be defensive guys and teams are still looking for offense.
What do we think, Jeff? Is there a spot there that makes sense immediately to me? Stefanski, obviously an offensive-minded coach. That's what people are looking for. One of those seem to make sense.
I like the Falcons and the Giants, honestly. But I would say if you're looking at the Falcons, they have a good offensive line. They have good weapons in the backfield. They got Drake London. They got a good tight end. They may have to re-sign. But if you're Stefanski and you're walking in from the offensive side, that is the place that you not going to be a whole lot better place to just walk in and have talent sitting around your locker room.
And yet, the quarterback situation there scares me to death because is the young one they drafted ever going to be healthy, and is the old one just at some point going to get too old?
I guess if you're Stefanski, at some point we kept linking Kirk Cousins to the Cleveland Browns while he was there because of their time in Minnesota. So maybe he looks at that and say, hey, maybe not for the future, but at least for a year I have Kirk Cousins. Stefanski had success in Cleveland. I think the coach of the years, we kind of blow it up, and he wasn't really susuccessful down the stretch.
With Flacco, too. I mean, he's had
the young one down there isn't that young either, so I'm not sure that it's very optimistic situation in Atlanta. I think at least if he considers if the Giants give him a chance, he has an opportunity of a young quarterback with lower expectations, I think, with more of a chance to grow. So I think you get to Atlanta, they're expecting something pretty soon, especially the way they turn that defense around.
Absolutely. Won their last 4 games, finished in a tie for the division, and fired the coach. So obviously they have high expectations. Graziano, continue the hurry up here into Miami, because this is a situation I'm not sure I understand at all.
Well, they haven't done anything with the head coach, Mike McDaniel, who said yesterday he's still expecting to be the head coach until he's told otherwise. He said he's involved in the general manager search. Remember, they fired their general manager midway through the season, so they need a new one of those. We'll see here. I think Mike McDaniel ended the season on somewhat shaky ground, but seems to be good for now. If theoretically, the candidate pool were to improve, maybe that would be something that would get ownership's attention.
Could you expand on that thought?
If a coach shook loose that has won a Super Bowl or something like that, hypothetically.
A guy named Harbaugh, potentially, you
said. That he has won a Super Bowl. Look, I don't know what's going to happen in Baltimore, Pittsburgh, et cetera, but that's the kind of thing. Like, one of the reasons you keep your head coach, if you're thinking about, whether to do that right now, is can you get someone better? And, Mike McDaniel, they have had good years under him. It's not as if it's been a complete disaster the whole way through.
And the one thing for McDaniel, when he's talking about he's going to be part of the general manager search and those kinds of things, if you think about Liam Cohen before he went to Jacksonville and he's like, hey, I'm not going to be there unless we move on. And even Shanahan with John Lynch, like, those two positions, they have to link in, and they have to be on the same page, and they have to agree. And so, whichever way you decide to go, it is very important. So whether you reset it all or not, you got to get that thing right.
In a related story, Tua Tagovailoa, when asked about a fresh start somewhere else yesterday, said, and correct me if I'm wrong, that would be dope.
That's what he said, yeah.
Is there, do you believe there is a spot that is sitting out there for Tua to be a starting quarterback next year?
Yeah, I think most teams are probably going to be pretty reluctant to go after Tua at this point. I'm sure he's going to get a shot somewhere else. But he's got to work his way back up. I think the confidence in him feels like a shot. And then we also have the head injury history that I think factors into any decision. I think if you have him, if you were like Miami, you had him and he showed some success and then he had the concussions, then you stick with him. If you're a new team, I think it's going to be hard for a new team to walk out there and then sign up for a quarterback that's not playing well and has this really scary injury history.
Yeah, it would be, to me, this is going to be an injury-driven thing. Like you literally don't have anywhere else to look before you go find them. And that's no disrespect. With the injuries on top of the performance, you are buyer beware.
So a place that might be desperate. Speaking of desperate places, Las Vegas, Graziano, was the last stop on our Run the Hurry Up tour. What's going on with the Raiders?
Someday we're going to look back and say, remember when Pete Carroll coached the Raiders? That was weird. It was 1 year. He got let go after 1 year by the Las Vegas Raiders. Obviously, this did not work out. The Raiders are going to pick first in the draft. They're going to have a new head coach next year. Tom Brady, who bought a stake in the team about a year ago and has had major influence ever since, and the general manager, John Spytek, who's Brady's guy. They work together in Tampa. They're going to head up the search for the new head coach, and they have to figure out quarterback, and it's another offseason of seeing what Brady's going to do.
So this is fascinating to me. Because every mock draft, and I live in this as much as anyone, and we have one this week on First Draft, which will drop tomorrow. Every mock draft is going to have the Raiders taking a quarterback at number 1, whether it's Fernando Mendoza or maybe Dante Moore goes crazy in the rest of the playoff and surpasses him. But Jeff Saturday, you're shaking your head because you don't think the Raiders should do that.
No, absolutely not. Listen, you have a lot of spots on this football team that need to be bolstered before you think about bringing a quarterback in. We talk about more quarterbacks are ruined in the NFL. This would be that situation. You're going to go into a bad offensive line. What do you expect? What are your expectations? This is a rebuild for this organization as a whole. I think trading the pick, adding to it, get some players around you, build the foundation of this, and then allow the quarterback to come in and kind of save the day.
It seems like it would be bad for the Raiders, and it seems like it would be bad for Mendoza or Dante. We talked about it, and I think Troy Aikman gave words to it. Given that he's a Hall of Fame player, I think people have more respect for and understand in a quarterback that it's really true, man. Like, there's so many different things that go into having success in football. If your team is at the bottom, which the Raiders are right now, adding a quarterback to it, no matter how talented he is, I don't think is the best for him or that team going forward. You need to have some infrastructure, something for him to lean on in order to have success.
And I think when you talk about that infrastructure, you're looking at a team that hired Pete Carroll last year. To your point, Graziano, throughout the course of the season, they fired 2 coordinators. So whoever the next guy you're bringing in, you got to give him the control to bring in some of the guys he wants, to be involved in that decision, whether it is a Mendoza. Because you look at it, you draft Ashton Genty at the top of the draft a year ago, and you couldn't even get a really good running back off the ground because of the pieces that surround him. So now you imagine a first overall quarterback. How are you going to surround him with the right pieces to be able to find success early on?
Yeah, that's the mission. And again, we have a situation where Tom Brady's been empowered to make decisions effectively in the Raiders organization. Last year he tried to get Ben Johnson and Matthew Stafford. He went 0 for 2. We'll see what the plan is this year.
Yeah, because people who have options are going to look at that and not view it as a favorable situation.
Yeah.
You wind up with people who don't have a lot of options, and that's not usually